Hello, welcome to this video. Thanks so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. And welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. This is going to be an inflow video. I just did a video on an energy update and kind of a recap of a lot of the messages that I've been sharing in code. I say code because it's wordplay, and sometimes it has to be, when I go back and I type it up, I find a lot more meaning than I may have recognized as I was sharing the message. So hopefully you will too. This is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis. So I'm just asking for any messages that would be beneficial for the collective that are tuning into this now or in the future. I'm hearing, so I'm just kind of going into value and resources. So this has kind of been an ongoing theme. And as we allow ourselves to stream in through this density, as we allow ourselves to break up the density that many of us have felt constricted in, constrictive is constricted within and inbound, we might call it. We are being invited to allow ourselves to feel into the resource of our own validity. And this is a play on words as well. Much of this will be a play on words. And we invite you to see past the words and to tie together different fragments or pieces of this conjunction puzzle that we are utilizing language for. For we are accessing many different doors, and we open these doors to many different components of the self. We access this and open many different doors to the mathematics or the general functionality of word technology. And we are also opening the doors and referring to those of you who are finding expression in a myriad of ways. And so how we channel this information depends on what it is that we are seeking to unwrap. For many of the different messages that come through I'm seeing them wrapped up, and then when you unwrap them, so it's like a ribbon and it's all rolled up, and you might see the outside of the ribbon, but then as you unroll it, there's all kinds of different things hidden within the ribbon. And we refer to the DNA, and we refer to the value, and we refer to the source, the resource that each of you holds. And we wish to validate or I'm hearing validify your own validity, because you are valuable. You are an incredibly diverse and unique resource as part of the source, and a deeply intrinsic part of the evolution, if that's what you want to call it, the growth, the expansion, and the expression of the universe. So when we recognize the validity of our own power, of our own source, as we recognize that we have the ability to resource our own source of energy and power, we find ourselves tuning more into that source. We find ourselves getting excited about these new abilities. For many different people are tuning into their abilities. They're recognizing that they are much more resourceful than they ever could have dreamed. They are having dreams that are starting to come true. They are starting to recognize the truth in their dreams. They are starting to dream a new dream. They are starting to create from a new dream, and they are dreaming into reality a new way of being. And so as we each create our own dream, as we each weave and intermingle with each other in this unified source stream, we are invited to stream with conscious co-creation. We are invited to stream with a heart-centered collaboration. And this is important for moving forward. The next step that humanity takes together is better accomplished, better done with the accomplishment of the one, of coming together in the unique combination of heart-centered accordance. So this is a play on words. It's heart-centered chords, the strings that I've been talking about. It's the sound. It's an agreement. It's like we're agreeing to walk forward together in harmony while maintaining our own unique individuality in this source expression. For we each came here to express ourselves with that unique individual fingerprint, blueprint, so on and so forth. And so this technology that is growing in popularity, we'll say, the artificial realm, in alignment with some of the most recent disclosures and disclaimers that are being publicly transmitted and admitted to, all of this is coming to a head, one might say it. It is creating a disturbance in, or a huge, I'm seeing a ripple in the collective experience. And so we are inviting everyone who is feeling this wave, feeling this impact, to rise above, to, so I'm getting reference to the last video I did, which was look up. Rise above and look up to yourself. Look up the definition of what it is that you define yourself as, and find out your own inner resource if it may be beneficial for you to redefine the scripture of what it is that you determine as love. For as above, so within, as above. So I'm seeing that, like, we've got to love ourselves, essentially. If we start with loving ourselves, if we can't love ourselves, then how can we really see the future from an objective and clear, harmonious perspective? So as we allow ourselves to look up to ourselves, we rise above to higher standards. We set our standards higher. We set our standards of living higher. How we live among community, how we live with ourselves, then changes. And once we change how it is that we live with ourselves, we ultimately change how it is we live with one another on this earth as a collective, with humanity. For we must learn to live with humanity first before we can learn to live with those that are not perceived as human from one perspective. And what is it? I'm referencing now the artificial collective. How we interact with technology also must come from a place of human compassion. For if we are operating as robots, when we move forward and create robots, they will be learning from that. And we are not here to be robots. Had we have chosen that, we would have already been on that track, and we would have already been separated even more from source. Yet we've already been down that track. We've already been down that route. And many of us have chosen to reroute and move into the heart, a bigger direction. For when we go into the heart, we move into a space of much higher directive. We are able to direct our creative compass in such a, I'm seeing a compass that's just spinning in all directions and doesn't stop. It's infinite. We can spin in many different directions, yet we create in any direction through our diversity and unique amplification from the vibration of bliss, joy, love. And this can still allow for excitement and the feeling of curiosity and the desire to know more and to learn more. Yet what it does is it harnesses the full potential of the human technology, the human communication, meaning if we are only utilizing one source of the brain, we are not utilizing the whole train. I'm seeing like the caboose. We're really only utilizing we're not carrying anything with us. And what I'm hearing is, if we do that, it might feel like we can go faster because we don't have all of this other stuff. Like, well, I can think faster if I don't go into my heart first. I just got to think. Not really so. That's one perspective, and that's a limited perspective. We get a fuller perspective if we utilize all of our source, which is our experience, which is our body, which is our thoughts, which is our breath, right? Breathing and combining all of that together makes us a much more powerful tool, a much more powerful, it allows us to implement our roadmap, and it allows us to create our roadmap with much less bumps in the road. And better spoken, it allows us to navigate our roadmap from many different angles. We can see all of the back roads that we would have missed if we would have only been focusing through our left brain analogy, plan words, analogous with analyzation, and I'm seeing a computer program. Come back to that. So as we allow ourselves to recognize our inner power, we stabilize our frequency, and we use that inner power to resource at a much greater variance, variable speed. So we are less able to be categorized. We are less able to be corralled into a program that no longer has room, we no longer hold space for, meaning the program isn't big enough for us because we are now bigger than that program. And we use the word that a lot, for that is the outside from one perspective. We're looking for this, we're looking for that, when in actuality, it's already been discovered at the source. We become then more of a purified conductor, a purified conduction chamber. We purify how it is that we conduct ourselves, and we purify with more regularity that which we regularly wish to see. We begin to see things with a purified, harmonized, vibrational understanding that was less available to us when we did not make the internal connection. We were unable to see the possibility of a higher reality. And so I'm just being shown tunnel vision. I'm being shown that we're not accessing all of our tools. So we're only working with the screwdriver when we're just using part of our brain, where we have the whole toolbox. And what I'm being shown is like the Transformers. I'm being shown the car that turns into the Transformer and can do a lot more, but we just don't know how to operate it. And we're starting to, what I'm hearing is an engine starting. Like it's on, it's humming. We're just not really sure how to take it to the next level. And the only way that we're going to learn is by using our tool or our equipment properly. And the proper use needs to come from our feeling valid. Like there's something about validity that I'm being really called to play with here. So let's. Okay, so a lot of times I use these words and it may seem like it's only one meaning, but it's got many different meanings. And so what my team is basically saying is recognize our own validity, validate ourselves. We don't need someone else to give us that validity. And it comes from strength. So we're recognizing our own strength. And this, I'm being called to go a little deeper into this. I love this. So I'm on edamonline.com, and it's having force in law or legally binding, but it's also to be strong, effective, powerful, active, and well-grounded, sufficiently supported by facts. So I'm seeing this double meaning, and I'm really being called to play with this. I had this whole word play here, and I'm thinking, which I could just go into straight channeling and just let it all flow through, but I like to stop for a moment, because when I go back and type this up, I realize what the deeper meanings are. And essentially, we're learning how to support ourselves. We're getting into our bodies. We're utilizing all of our resource, not just part of it, our brain, or our thought patterns. And that strengthens, okay, validates our everything. It strengthens who we are. It strengthens our power. It gives us more power, and it grounds the energy. And that's another thing that's been coming up a lot, and I didn't bring up in my last video, but how important it is to get grounded, to embody, to get into our bodies. So many of us sit with our shoes on, we watch TV, we only get barefoot around the house. You know, we're not ever outside touching our feet on the sand, touching our feet on the grass. And all of that is really important. And then we become the authority. We're the ones that we're looking up to. And this is a play on words also, because this is in reference to the news about our government, the news about UFOs, the news about artificial intelligence. So I'm going to take those three subjects, right? Political, technology, and sorry, I just got off on a little tangent, but all of those things, we're not giving our power to those things. We're looking for our power to come from within. That gives us the power to differentiate between what's good for us and what may not be so good for us. It gives us the power to discern and the power to, I'm hearing, quantify our entanglement. So that's a play on words, and I'll go back into that. So we are called to look within again and again, for as we disentangle from that which does not quantitatively add up, as we disentangle ourselves from that which it is that we do not wish to create on a quantum scale or level, we begin to create a higher quantity of variability. Okay, I keep saying this, so I don't have to go back and look up what they're alluding to. I think it has to do with heart variance. You guys, I'm funny. Heart rate variability, heart math. I always talk about heart math, but they're saying rate of variability. So essentially the message, and I have to go back and listen to what I just said because it took me a minute to look this up, but essentially it's the space between the heartbeats. And so we are, when we go into heart rate variability, that keeps us, if you ever play with heart math, which I encourage everybody to, you can buy the app on your phone, you can just meditate and work on breath work, but you're ultimately going into a place of, as you do that, compassion. You're going into a place of love. You're going into a place of gratitude. And that increases the space. And that's kind of a play on words. It's increasing the space. We're expanding. We're then able to, I hear, read between the lines. We can feel into the space easier, and we're not sandwiched between all of these stories and running from story to story, or looking from person to give us, back to what I was saying earlier, the validation that we need in order to fill in the blanks, whatever it might be. Whew. So I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit, but let me keep going. And this increases our resourcefulness, for as we lean into our higher accountability, so this is a play on words, so it's like this count, we get into a rhythm, we are able to then account for lost energy. For many of us have been unaware of, well, some are aware, some are not, of the fact or the truth that we are actually giving our energy away. And we have been giving it away forever, since birth, essentially. We give our energy to many different things outside of us, and that energy is collected, actually. And this is difficult to explain in this particular transmission, but let us just say that the energy is collected. I'm seeing like rain being collected in buckets. And this is collected in the value system. It is collected by what we spend our money on, what we spend our, I'm seeing clicks like clickbait, what we spend our attention on, and all of that is a direct, it's a it's a creationary system. Therefore, we then create our value system based on that, when in actuality we have been corralled at times into thinking, into focusing with only our eyes. And like, I'm just seeing okay, for example, when we're not in coherence and we're in this heightened state, let's say, of addiction to the internet, addiction to programming, addiction to whatever it might be, we get a heightened, our heart rate variability is not, the fluctuation isn't good. We get a heightened cortisol in our system, and it becomes a habitual pattern. And then we don't realize that we're creating our reality based on that habitual pattern. We're giving value and we're giving our energy to those programs to support the pattern that we're actually the ones that are in charge of creating. And so it may not feel like we're in charge of it, but we are, because if we don't give our attention to something, it doesn't hold value. It doesn't get the funding that it needs in order to stay real. And so this comes back to us validating ourselves, grounding in our own value. For if we are looking towards the television to give us our value, or we are looking towards our UFO connections to give us value, or anything, it doesn't matter. What matters truly is that which we are creating, conceiving, birthing in this now moment is a direct reflection of how connected we feel and how connected we are to our own value system. So we're encouraging all in this now moment to increase their value. And we can only do this by utilizing what it is that we have as a resource. And everyone has something. The heart. Everyone that is in a human body is able to consistently utilize this tool within the toolbox as the grand, I'm seeing the grandest tool of all. It is the, I'm just seeing like a chess game, and I'm seeing the king and the queen combined, like, and all of it. It's everything. And I'm seeing it being wrapped up, which it is wrapped. If you look at the heart, it actually gets, you can unwrap it. It's kind of cool. And there's so much that goes on that we're not even fully aware of. I keep getting that message, as well as the brain, because our entire schematic, I'm just going to go into flow. Our entire schematic is changing because we have agreed with ourselves that we would like to see more of ourselves. Therefore, more of ourselves are being revealed. And this is in alignment with what I said earlier, with more of the truth is being revealed. So we're finding another chamber in the pyramids, or the Sphinx. We're finding artifacts that we didn't know existed, or ones that we didn't know that existed are now coming up to our awareness, like the extraterrestrial devices. So our bodies are our technology. As our technology upgrades, we are then able to utilize more of that technology. It's like having a password or a key code that we did not have access to before. This is intrinsically tied in with, do we think we deserve it? And if we do not, we don't ever look to actually open it up. But if we go into our heart, it automatically opens for us. We automatically open for it. And we are then, I'm seeing a book. It's like a book. You put the key in, then it opens. It's like, Dear Diary, all the things I didn't know or I forgot, here you go. It gives us access to all aspects of ourselves that perhaps weren't turned on before. And it turns us on to be able to see things from a different view, to be able to view ourselves from a higher standard. And this leads us back to the end with the beginning in mind. And that's a flip-flop, the end, beginning with the end in mind, that all is connected. This is the end and the beginning and it is consistently ending and beginning. And so the more we can be in the present moment, the more we can say goodbye to that which no longer enhances our encouragement. So, and that's a kind of a combination, enhances our, we can say goodbye to things that no longer enhance or encourage us, that we don't feel encouraged by. We'll be more encouraged because we are enhanced. Therefore, our perspective and all of our gifts are enhanced as well, which means what we're creating is enhanced from a positive way rather than being controlled from an outside source. But this goes back to what I said in the beginning, which is our resource. We're using our resource rather than an outside source using us as the resource. We just didn't necessarily realize that we were the ones powering this unconsciously, this matrix, this program. So again, get back into the heart. And I'm hearing get back into the heart, land on your feet. So get the feet on the land. It'll help keep us able to land on our feet rather than feeling like we're continually being knocked off of our feet. We'll recognize through our own ability to be strong and secure because we're utilizing so much more. In love and light, guys. Namaste.